I welcome you again. So, sir, you have made a very important decision, all right, by subscribing for this session because the truth is, business is pretty more serious than most people realize, and it's not about having the money to invest in business. It's pretty more than that. It's clear. Everybody knows or must have heard that 4 out of 5 businesses failed in the first 5 years of operation. What many don't realize is why that happens. And people attribute it to lots of factors, environment, government policies, and all of that. But many times it's something far beyond that. You also find other people who have some very interesting ideas that want to go into business and do something substantially big, but somehow they say, well, we don't have the finances, and because of that, they are unable to move further. Now, neither of those factors really is the reason why things don't work out. There are more serious reasons that most people realize. And what I want us to do today is not really more of talking. One, this is very informal and interactive, so we can talk. You're free to ask whatever question that comes to mind, right? And I'm going to ask you too when I feel there's a need to. And so it's pretty informal. And also, we're gonna be doing a number of work. All right. By working together, we'll be able to devise a plan that is actionable. All right, because money is pretty precious, and if you could have invested 50 million and get results, then you end up investing 100 million. You have actually wasted 50 million without realizing it. Why do people do that? It's very simple. It's because people like to follow established models, existing ideologies of doing business, all right, systems that have been spelled out already. So you just follow that pattern and do what other people are doing. All right. By doing that, you find out that you are on a path that is pretty much competitive, right? So we want to be able to look at things, have a clearer picture of how things really work, all right? And then that makes it easier for us to actually do things very differently. Okay. So first, I want to kind of I know that you are very knowledgeable, sir, and however, would like us to be on the same page. So some of the things I'm going to show now, I'm sure that things you already know. Okay, but so let's assume that it's going to refresh your mind, and then we can pick it up from there. So usually, it's not much about um, the logic that you have that will make people make a business work. At the foundation of anything that works is the philosophy behind it. There has to be a reason. All right. I had an interaction recently, as I always do, with a businessman, Mr. Q, and he told me he's come to a point where he needs he needs some level of growth, and if they could get some people to invest some millions in the business, it's really going to help them. And as we talked, I said, why should they invest? He said, because so they can create value together. I said, what is this value? And the best he could say was so that they can make money together. I said, making money is not value. That's the principle, the idea that many people have about business, to invest so that you make money. And the result is obvious. That's why they say always the justification for wisdom is the results. Whatever name you give to your situation, why the business has issues is secondary. All right, it's just proof that whatever philosophy that was driving your actions has a problem. And to start fixing issues, we really need to look at that philosophy. So the philosophy of successful enterprises, I want us to look at it. Have a look. Okay, so I just said it a while ago that value is at the center of any business, no matter what it is. All right, it's always about value. It's not about making money. Making money is a trap. And I'll tell you a story. A gentleman interviewed was having a conversation with a former president of Argentine Republic, and Argentina is in South America. So the president asked him, why do you think North America is far in terms of development and prosperity than South America, irrespective of the abundance of natural resources in South America? The Jeremiah said, well, sir, why don't you tell me, Mr. President? The president told him, I've come to the conclusion that South America was founded by Spanish businessmen in search of gold, while North America was occupied by Christian missionaries in search of gold. Did you get that? Those in search of gold didn't seem to have found it. Those in pursuit of gold seem to have found gold in the process. You get that? Not many think about business like this. All right? The idea, the philosophy is always, what can I put my money in, all right, so that I will get more money? I get that question all the time, all right? The people want to pick my brain, and the most question is always, so which business will you recommend now? I don't recommend any business. I want to know why you want to invest in any business at all. And then that helps us see whether that makes sense for you, because a time comes when difficulties will come. The only thing that will help you is the very reason why you set out in the first instance. Turbulence are going to come, right? And that shouldn't take this away. So at the center of it is value. I want you to imagine that. You know who this Jeremiah is? On the TV. Any ideas? And why is he here? Well, this is the respected Peter Drucker, a respected management teacher and consultant. And what is he doing here? He's here because of that thing he said. He made that statement. He said the business enterprise has two and only two basic functions. And he said it is innovation and marketing. Marketing and innovation. Can you imagine? He said the business enterprise has only two basic functions. And it is marketing and innovation. Innovation is finding new ways of solving problems or creating new solutions. That's what it is. Marketing means getting to tell people for whom that solution was created, bringing it to their awareness. Marketing is not about manipulating minds. It's about helping people for whom the service or product, the value was created, become aware of it. That when people are aware, and if it's really value, there's a tendency that they will respond. So this kind of thinking is a departure from what it seems to be. And it's important we start thinking like this before we even invest $1, $1 into any project. So mark that. The purpose of whatever it is you're going to set up should be innovation and marketing. When that becomes the underlying philosophy, things become easy. Why do people get stuck and are able to make the right decision? Why do people run out of ideas on what to do? Why? Because they lack clarity. Selfishness blinds. When all your focus is how to make more money, you find out that it blinds you to possibilities. And because you're not being blinded to possibilities, you're just there making stupid decisions until the company crumbles and you blame it on the economy or some policies or some wherever, but wherever it is, just an excuse, just a cover up for your mistakes, which could have been avoided. Okay, so I said earlier that the purpose of the enterprise is value creation. And something important is that products are stores of value. I'm going to explain that a little further. All right? So this is useless except for the value it carries. It's just an object. All right? It's an object. If you doubt me, give it to... please go ahead. Yes. That's on the screen.
No, it's going to give us a copy.
I will send you this, not a problem. By the way, I hope you were able to. Did you listen to the audio I wanted you to listen to?
I couldn't.
What about the assessment I wanted to take, the one I sent on PDF? Did you do that?
I tried to open yesterday. In fact, I even planned to open, but I couldn't open.
The PDF too?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so products and stores of value. I'll explain that as we move along. It's very important. I said, if you doubt me, give $100 bill to a 2-month-old child. You'll be amazed at what will happen. Go straight to his mouth. All right, because to the child, it doesn't mean anything, right? Okay, and so what makes a product useful is the value stored in it, not the product itself. And creating and delivering value requires a model. The model is the logic of doing business. All right? It requires a model. The model is the logic of doing business. It's the approach. It defines how you create and capture value. All right? That's what the model deals. And here's what a German called E.P. Box said. E.P. Box said, every model is wrong. Why did he say that? Because models are the product of imperfect humans. Models represent the thoughts, the solutions some people created at certain point in their lives to help them solve certain problems. And people are always limited by their perspective, by their exposure, and by their experience. That is why you keep finding new models being unveiled. You understand? It's because the old one, all right, has some limitations. The understanding that models could be wrong empowers you to challenge the model. And when you challenge the model, you can see probably the errors within the model that enables you to actually improve on it. And when you improve on the model, you realize you are able to do a lot of things differently, including control of your costs. All right? Once the business model is developed, people begin to build businesses around that model and put a charge on those businesses. So to operate with that model, these guys are going to make money from you. When you build a new model, it becomes even difficult for them to know what to ask for you. Things become a little fair. You can control situations because you designed the model. You understand this?
Yeah.
So now this is the kind of thinking that can enable you save costs and provide more value. Okay, so competing with others of the same dimensions is expensive, wasteful, and delivers the least return on investment. What that means is that doing things exactly the way other people in the industry are doing it, no matter what business it is. You understand that? It's wasteful because the competition is so much, everybody is trying to, and in periods of situations of intense competition, people resort to all manner of things, reducing their costs and all of that to get people to buy. That's not the smartest way to do business. All right. You are aware that until recently, Nigerian government was they're still trying to figure out how to get companies like Twitter and Facebook pay them tax. But Facebook and Twitter making a lot of money from here. You see that? Now the government is still struggling to figure out how to get them to pay. Why? Because of the business model. The government has no difficulties getting business day or punch to pay, because the system is already well defined. To operate with their model, you have to just, everything is pretty well defined for you. You go through the registration and all of that. But they're still trying to see how can we get Twitter to pay us tax. You see the problem? Okay, so that's because of the power of business model. So being successful requires thinking differently, and thinking differently means taking a different route to value creation. Okay, let's move forward. Any questions so far? Is there any questions so far?
I'm still following.
Sir?
I think I'm still following.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad you are. I mentioned A, B, and B to you.
Excuse me, before we go further, I'm going to use the AC. Can you come here? Can you come here?
Sorry, so we shouldn't resume now, we should move over to okay, thank you. So I did talk to you about Airbnb, remember during our conversation about the cost? Okay, their revenue in 2020 was $3.378 billion. All right, they control 20% of the industry, an industry worth 87 billion. As of 2020, they control 20% of it.
What you mentioned their profit in it?
Their revenue in 2020, $3.378 billion. Now, like I said, they operate in the hospitality industry and help people get where to sleep, They give some serious challenge to companies like to hotels, right? Because instead of booking to stay in a hotel, I book to stay in someone's home, and that is sometimes is cheaper and pretty straightforward, right? What you would have spent to stay in a hotel, you spend lesser. You stay in an Airbnb apartment. But the thing is that Airbnb doesn't own one block, like I told you. They don't. How then does that work? Well, it's very simple. In 2008 August, Obama was having his campaign in San Francisco. This guy just moved to San Francisco and were having difficulties paying their rent. And but they had this apartment, they were struggling to pay the rent, and the hotels in San Francisco, as a result of this surge, people coming because of the campaign, couldn't keep up. There were people who didn't have a place to stay. So they thought, okay, this could be a chance to raise money to pay our rent. So they went and bought air beds. That's how it's called Airbnb. Went and bought air beds, all right, and brought people in to pay $80 to sleep in their sitting room on the air bed and have breakfast served. Air bed and breakfast. So air bed and breakfast. That's how it came about. They made money from this stuff and thought, come on, we can scale this. That became the beginning of a business that disrupted the hospitality industry with a different model. The key thing is providing people a safe, secure place to stay, right? But they realized they didn't have to build the houses and all of that. They didn't have to do that. There are already lots of houses no one is occupying. They identify what is called idle capacity, all right? Uber did the same thing. We don't have to own the cars. There are lots of cars and there's no one inside them. We can put people in those cars. And today it's a global company making a lot of money. See that? Because they could afford to challenge the existing model. They recognize that business is about value creation, nothing more, nothing less. The model, listen, the value you want to create should precede the model. Don't be stuck. People get stuck because they're trying to fit what they want to create with an existing model. And that's because many people don't even give time to think. They just think, problem is money. Money becomes a problem because you're trying to use the money you have to finance it. I told you, a model, existing model already have everything spelled out. All right? So to create value using that model, you have to, there's a certain amount of money it's going to take you. But once you can change the model, which is very possible, all right? Even the government doesn't know how to handle you. You see? So that way, this company is able to create lots of value without following the old model. And anybody can do it today. They did that in 2008. Years later, Uber disrupted the taxi industry. And industries are still being disrupted. And you know what? They don't have to be in San Francisco to do that. They could have been in Lagos. Because it's really about human needs. That's true. It's just that people don't, we have this way of thinking, all right? If I can, I have developed my business plan. I'm just looking for people who will get me money, or I don't have enough money. And you are there without even looking to see if the model you're trying to use has imperfection that you can improve on. See that? Okay, any questions so far? No. You know this? This is Packer Pen. Why should anybody buy Packer Pen, Mr. Johnson? Think about it. Packer Pen is expensive. Are you writing with a Packer Pen right now? But Packer Pen,
many at home.
You have many at home. But okay. Now, why would anybody buy Packer Pen? Let me tell you the story. The story has it that years ago, Packer Pen got a new CEO. And this new general man came on board. He assembled the management board and said, who is our main competitor? He just like go back and ask him, who is our main competitor? At the tip of your finger, you say MTN. That makes sense, isn't it? Well, just that way, there's another one called Scaffer Pen. So the first guy got up and said, I know, sir, it's Scaffer. The CEO got everybody surprised and said, we surely do compete with Scaffer to an extent, but they are by no means our main competitor. Everybody got confused. But this caused them to think. So somebody thought, okay, maybe this isn't really about luxury pen. Maybe it's just about writing. And if it's writing, then it must be bureau. Bureau pen. It's about writing. Yeah. So the CEO was happy because now the people were thinking. They moved from thinking about luxury pen industry to writing implements. Now you can include marker there. You can include pencil there. The implication is that what's happening with pencils can affect what you are selling. Now they are widening their perspective about their business. And he said, that's fine, but we by no means, we compete with them to an extent, but they are by no means our main competitor. People got more confused. So who is? The third person got up and said, I know, sir. It is the telephone. Now people were thinking, okay, why? He said, because it's not really about writing, it's just about communication. You see? Now they're widening. So emailing cannot be part of the competition and all of that. People were changing their perspective. But the man still disagreed. So it's okay, sir, you tell us, sir. He said, what he said will shock you. What in the world can it be now? The Jeremiah said, our main competitor is a Royston cigarette lighter. Cigarette lighter. Now, Mr. Johnson, please be sincere. Does that make any sense? Shola, talk to me. Madam, does that make any sense? Cigarette lighter and packer pen. And this man is insisting this cigarette lighter is our main, not even that we compete somehow, but is our main competitor. More than Scava pen that is in direct competition with them, or as it seems. That doesn't make sense, does it? What are your thoughts?
I can't find the relationship between packer pen and cigarette lighter.
That's the point. Mr. Jewel, do you have any ideas of what might have informed this gentleman's idea? Talk to me. The story?
No, I thought asking the question.
No, I'm asking you too.
What is
The question is, this Jeremiah said that their main competitor is a Royston cigarette lighter, packer pen.
Okay.
So I'm asking, can you imagine the relationship? How in the world would a packer pen be competing directly with a cigarette lighter? Does that make any sense to you? We need to unravel it. You see, welcome to the world of business, and you cannot begin to see that there is a lot many entrepreneurs don't see. They just think it's about having the money and investing. I told you it's not. Successful companies are successful because of the things they know. Packer is successful. It's not pretty easy to sell such luxury pen and remain there for how many years now? There has to be something new. And this is one of it. Am I correct? If you share the same philosophy that they do, I guarantee you can set up something as huge as that. It's possible. So when I think about business, that's the way I think. I think that there are lots of things that you can do, and it's not about having the money. All right, it's not about having the money. Certain American president said, "Give me 26 lead soldiers, and I will change the world." His name is Benjamin Franklin. He said, "Give me 26 lead soldiers, and I will change the world." He did change the world from a wheelchair. Am I correct? From a wheelchair. Question is, what soldiers was he referring to? You know what it is? 26 letters of the alphabet. That's the 26 lead soldiers he referred to. Barack Obama said he needed a pen and a telephone. I told you about relationships. Okay, so packer pen and this cigarette lighter, according to the sale, market research indicated that when people didn't buy Packer Pen, they bought this lighter. For what reason? Because Packer Pen is a luxury gift, sir. See, I expect one from you on my birthday. It's a luxury gift. It's like Rolex watch, all right? So you're thinking of what to send to the Lagos State Governor on his birthday or something, and you can think of a certain category of Packer Pen, and he doesn't use it to take notes every morning as he wakes up. You see that? And Royston's cigarette lighter was another luxury gift. So they were in the luxury gift industry, not writing implements industry, nor luxury pen industry. See, this was the value they came to provide. I told the business about value. And products are stores of value. All right? So your idea is to decide what package in which you will store that value. But the best strategies are formless and invisible. You see that? The best strategies are concealed in products. The best strategies are formless and invisible. The enemy, the competitors don't know what to defend against. You are seeing a Packer Pen and you think it's a writing implement or luxury pen, but they think we are serving a luxury gift industry. Now that determines their advertising, that determines and everything they do, their marketing, where they advertise and all of that. They want to target those who can afford to buy luxury pen, luxury gifts. You understand that?
Yeah.
So you can actually store whatever value you want in whatever package. Now people don't know exactly what to defend against because it's pretty unclear. Now this is how successful entrepreneurs think. You know, it's not just, I want to set up a bookstore. Well, I could set up a bookstore and I'm doing an entirely different business. And all you see is a bookstore. Who knows what I'm doing? See why sessions like this is important? Any questions so far? Any questions so far from anybody? Okay, any suggestion? Okay, so I call that concealing the value. It's a business, it's war. So you need to come up with strategies that can enable you conquer the market with the least resources. Nobody prides himself in being in spending the most money to get the less value, which is what many do. I salute the courage of people like you who actually recognize the fact that there's a need to do things like this before you begin to spend, because of the wrong ideology already. People just think if you have the money, I can go into that business. No, sir. It's not enough to go. It's enough to go in and remain profitable. Not just profitable, but in a sustainable way. And that doesn't just come by liking it and say, that business is moving. There's a reason why it's moving. Okay, now this logo belongs to a company called Becton Dickinson. Another irony. Becton Dickinson is in medical supplies. They supply medical equipment, especially needles, hypodermic needles. Now the reason why they're here is because this is one great example of a company that understood strategy. Now in 2019, their revenue was at $17.29 billion. That's good, right? They control 89.56% of the market share. Now here is the thing about this company. Their needles sell at 65% higher than every other needle. That means if every other needle is $1, they're only $65. How then are they able to control this side of the market? 89.5? How? Think about it. Mr. Jewel, would you like to buy a needle that is very expensive? It's a needle. You use it only once. And it's not a wristwatch. It's not a neck chain. And you won't come out and tell people, you know what, I just got an injection with Becton Dickinson needle. The funny part of it is that in a standard hospital, you don't even get to buy the needle yourself. Am I correct? So you can say, well, I don't like taking injections, so I bought Becton Dickinson needle. So the patient using it doesn't even know. And every reasonable organization wants to keep costs down. So why would the hospital want to spend 65% higher in needles? That does not make sense. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I told you, the best strategies are what? Are what?
Marketing
The best strategies are what? Formless and invisible. The competitor, the enemy does not know what to defend against.
formless and
Invisible. I will write on the screen. Okay, so we have that with this company, Becton Dickinson, selling a needle at 65% higher than the price of their closest competitor, which is actually a Japanese company called Terumo Corporation. All right, but then controlling 89%. In fact, just a couple of years ago, it was 60% of the market they were controlling. Now they are controlling 89.5%.
at the value.
Yes, selling 65% higher than the average market price. That again doesn't make sense considering the fact that they are not selling apple food is a needle. Think about it. That makes no sense at all. Would you have any ideas why that could have been possible? Shola wants to say something, am I correct?
Probably they want to portray it to make people feel like there's something, or probably the value, people don't want to like go for it, or they not see it.
Because of what? It's a needle we're talking about here, Shola. If you were the purchasing manager of a hospital, would you like to spend more to buy needles? If it's hospital bed that people might even see and say, oh, this is made of. If it's clearing that, we can say, okay, for durability, right? This is used once and disposed. Any ideas? No ideas. Mr. Johnson, you were just about starting a company, so do you have any idea?
Well, in the past, people used to reuse needle, and later this issue of HIV came. Because in Nigeria, people can use one needle for about 10 minutes. They put it inside the hot water in the hospital and claim that they were trying to sterilize it. But when the issue of HIV came, so they will ask people to even buy if they cannot make it available anymore. So in this case, maybe they are into luxury segment of the market.
Luxury needle.
Probably maybe they want to focus the rich one just to like.
So the rich man wants to spend more money on it. See, listen, the rich man doesn't even buy this needle himself. The hospital purchasing manager buys it.
Maybe the needle they are producing is specifically for one aspect of the, like people maybe when they want to infuse blood for a kind of treatments. I think it's not just ordinary one that they are just becoming.
Well, let me make it easy for you. It's ordinary needle.
Okay, then I see no reason why it should be more expensive than
I agree with you. But here is the reason. The best strategies are formless and invisible. The truth is, Becton Dickinson doesn't actually try to sell needle. They sell product liability insurance. You see, product liability is a very serious issue in a place like the US and other places. You can spend a lot, you can be shut down if you don't handle it properly. So Becton Dickinson's salesman comes in and says, now, this is what you are spending because in this your 200-bed facility hospital, you have probably up to 10 persons whose job it is to go around and pick needles. And you are concerned and there that God forbid somebody handles it wrongly and then the person could contact an infection. But you know that if you don't handle the disposal of business well, you can be shut down. Now, as a result of our experience in handling this kind of project, we are proposing to you that we will take over this aspect of the business. will take over the disposal of these materials. All right? And these other people who are obviously going to, they're not going to be needed any longer, you can decide what you like to do with them. You have to reassign them or decide what you want. But we are going to be saving you lots of money. And this supply purchasing manager says, what you say sounds interesting, but I don't believe you can save me that kind of money. He said, no, don't believe us. Let's go to a third party, an independent third party, a CP, and let him do for us what is called activity-based costing. I mean, you understand that one very well. Okay, and you realize that you have no idea what you are spending. To make it easy, we put down 50% of the cost of doing this. When the work is completed, you pay the remaining 50%. And all of the time, this hospital finds out that they are spending a whole lot of money on human resources and all the benefits that go with having these people in here. And they say, we have now promised to take over this aspect of your operation, and with our experience, we'll do it better, we'll do it faster, we'll do it cheaper. But all we are asking is that you sign this agreement to purchase this number of needles over this period of years from us in response to this our generosity. So you see, they're not just selling needle. They stored product liability insurance in a needle. This is how to think strategically. Not many do that. Many will think, well, I want to start selling needle. Beckham Dickinson makes a lot of money from needle. So I remember being at Tenaris. You should know Tenaris. I mean, they play in the oil and gas industry. They supply pipes and all of those stuffs. You know, Tenaris is an Argentine-based company. Okay, and I told this story. So one of the managers said, well, why not their competitors start doing the same thing? As you will see in the next presentation I'll show you. It is, see, strategy is not one action. It's an always complex and interconnected. So that to really take my strategy, you probably have to import the whole organization and transfer it into yours. Because it deals with not only the formal structure, but the informal structure, relationships, and other things that are so interconnected. Choices that are connected and fit together that is difficult to separate. Because you see, their experience comes into this, their relationships comes into this, their supply management experience comes into this. So you just cannot, it's like Sheraton, it's like, which hotel could that be? It's like, you can only find Sheraton in a place like Lagos and Abuja. Right? Yes. There is no, you don't even have Sheraton in Port Harcourt, right? You don't. There are some people, but you don't have Sheraton in Port Harcourt. But if you fly into any major city and look for Sheraton, but it has to be a major city. Because there are lots of things involved in operating in that segment. Now, if Sheraton decides to let the door in for everybody to come in, the guy with 25,000 can come in now, the guy with 15,000 can come in now, the implication also is that they will start running different kinds of laws because there are certain category of staff and the quality of training that you give them, quality of fixtures and fittings that this cost cannot accommodate. So strategy is not one thing, as you'll find out. So it's not very easy to just take someone's strategy and plug into your own. Not that easy. So that's why it's difficult to actually start doing the same thing. It's possible to do, but that won't happen so easily. Because also you see, strategy is dynamic, all right? And to stay relevant, you also need to be changing with the time. Okay, so this is the story of Beckham Dickinson and how they are able to control 89% of the market with a revenue of 17.29 billion. That's a lot. Move over to this. IKEA. You must know about IKEA. Okay. Now, what is it about? What are they doing here? Well, we begin with this quotation. The successful executive positions the resources with ease because it begins by occupying territories not contested by others. What does that mean? You see, when IKEA started out, the idea was to serve a segment of the market that cannot afford to pay for luxury furniture, but wants luxury furniture. Now, that is inconceivable. How can you? Because to sell luxury furniture to them, it involves a lot of money. They need to be able to pay for it. But there are people that want it, they can afford it. So what can we do? Well, if we can look at the value chain in the furniture industry and we are able to decouple it, we might be able to find points where we can eliminate an activity or manage the activity differently that will lower our cost considerably so that we pass that cost over to the buyer. That's what they did. In a standard furniture store, you have this furniture set up the sofa, the bed, and you come in, turn and walks you around, showing you, say, this is this, and tell you the wood and all of that to convince you to buy. But that person is paid. If we can get rid of that person, all right, we will reduce our costs. Okay. Now, if we could put this warehouse takes about 10 furniture settings. What if we can put 100 in it? We'll reduce the cost per unit. So they decided to sell furniture in a box. You walk into an IKEA shop and nobody comes to welcome you, to say you're welcome, please come, let me take you around. You do the welcoming to yourself and do the taking around for yourself. And you pick up the box from a shelf. And these things are, you're gonna have to take it home and finish the setting with your screwdrivers and all of that. That way they save space. They put more furniture in here. Because you don't have nice people who are following you and to welcoming you, and they save money on human resources. And because you get tired by the time you may have walked around, they have an on-site low-cost restaurant where you can eat. And because the people who are coming here may not be top university professors and top politicians, they could be young people who just get married. They could be coming with their child. So they have a place where you can keep your child and you return that for and you pay for it. Are you seeing the connection? So you have everything arranged. So as a result of this, they are able to lower their cost of operation and then pass it to the buyer without losing money. That's how to think. If they follow the standard routes of selling furniture, they can achieve that. So I told you that every model is wrong because it is a product of imperfect humans. Humans limited by their perspective and their exposure and experience. And it is your responsibility to find the best route for yourself. So I said, the successful executive positions the resources with ease because he begins by occupying territories not contested by others. That's similar to what they call blue ocean strategy. Blue ocean strategy is strategy. Do you understand that? So now, irrespective of what it is that you want to do, whatever you want to pursue and accomplish, this is how to start thinking about it. It takes time to actually withdraw and reflect and look at industries and then look at where you might be able to enter the industry. All right? Any questions so far? Mr. Jawole, do you have a question so far?
Okay.
No questions so far? Shall I no questions so far?
I have a question, but I think probably due to the course of the session might answer it.
No, I think it's better for you to ask your question now when we are on the particular topic.
Okay, what we talk about value? The question is, how can we drive value less capital? In the sense that, okay, having projected a kind of business and adopted some level of value, or to start with, how can we just drive that with less capital or finances?
How we can drive value with less capital. Okay, now there's something you need to understand. Businesses invest in assets because those assets have the capacity to produce revenue for them. Now those assets can include human resources, relationships, furniture and fittings, all right? Now if you underinvest in an asset, in the assets you require, it also means that you might be unable to perform, you might underperform. If you invest and you are not able to draw out all of the value trapped in those assets, you will have idle capacity.
Overtrade.
and you'll be losing money. Okay? So neither of that is good. So what usually has to happen is to understand the industry and challenge and ask deep questions about the industry, which I hope we can do, all right? Concerning whatever you tell me you really have made up your mind to do. That way, you'll be able to discover things that may not be necessary that other people are doing, or things to do differently. By finding how to do things differently, that's why I said that. Remember when we started, I made this statement. I said, competing with others on the same dimension is expensive, wasteful, and deliver the least returns on investment. You understand that? Okay. So the key thing is to understand the industry more than what appears. And I'm sure that when you think about any industry right now, based on all we're sharing, you can probably begin to look at things differently and see that there is more that people don't see that causes things to happen. And that because people devoted themselves to understanding that whatever exists, the products of human beings, and you can challenge those thoughts. You understand that? That is how to lower cost of operation. That's how to drive operations with what you have. The key is to realize that just that you have money doesn't mean you must spend it. You understand that? Money enables us. Money is just a resource. And there are a lot of things that, okay, when I speak to younger people who are pushing businesses, I say to them, I said, all customers are not equal. I said, before you ask for money, be sure that there is nothing more important than you can get. You understand that? Be sure there's nothing more important than you can get. Because you might be talking with somebody. Okay, I mentioned one of the platforms that we developed, right? And I told you something that they were asking for about $1 million to develop for me. But I got a young man who developed that platform. I didn't have to pay. I didn't even have to provide data for him because he was looking for a chance of mentorship. And he was smart enough to know, okay, the young man who developed my website is in Nigeria. And because he built that website, he's gotten contracts from South Africa. He's got one recently from India. From a friend who knows me, visitor was said, who did this? I said, oh, he's a wonderful person. All right. And he would not have got that if all he was concerned about was looking for 300,000. You see that? And I because he did a great job, I keep recommending him to people. I said, this your website needs an improvement. He said, yeah, it does. I said, I will recommend somebody. You see, so all customers are not equal. So always you want to find out, it's about value, right? And that doesn't happen if you are only concerned about how much can I make. That's a trap. You understand that? It's a trap. Okay, so I guess that provided some insights. Look at this gentleman here. Any ideas on who they are? Probably not. But the logo behind, these are two brothers. The logo behind is the logo of their company, and the writing on that logo suggests Chinese, so they are Chinese people. And they are the co-founders of a company called Lee and Fong, a company that is 115 years old. That's a long time, right? I think whatever they did to have sustained it for that long, the company needs some good attention. Now the thing is, this company, the revenue in 2019 was $11.4 billion. They are in the apparel industry. Apparel. But they don't own one sewing needle. They don't own one sewing machine. So they don't have a place where you have people sewing. They don't. So how are they able to play in the industry without having those things? Because they realize that the most significant, you see, I told you about idle capacity and gaps in the industry. I mentioned that a lot of times. You find that in many industries and people don't even see those things. As I will show you in another presentation, every industry is controlled by what Professor Michael Porter called 5 forces. You must have heard that. I don't know. 5 forces. And these 5 forces determine the profitability in their industry. You have suppliers, you have buyers, you have substitutes, you have barriers to entry. And then you have a rivalry within the industry. The rivalry in what Glo and MTN can be doing. All right? Including changing their name on mobile devices to stay safe and safety for all. That's all part of the law of the rivalry that takes place in the industry. But beyond that is more. Beyond that is that every industry has suppliers, people that supply different kinds of things. And if those suppliers have a lot of strength, they can bargain profit away from the industry. Assuming it's an $80 billion industry, for example, the suppliers might be taking away $50 billion. Think about the airline industry. You really don't have a lot of control over pilots. You understand that? So that's a very strong force in the industry. That's the reason why, Richard Branson, everybody knows him, the British man. He said there's only one way to become a millionaire in the airline industry. And he said it is start by becoming a billionaire. Can you imagine that?
Start by becoming a billionaire.
A billionaire. Can you imagine that? Now that statement came from a man who actually owns airline, right? So he must be telling you his experience. Do you know that Trump ever had an airline? Do you know that? Trump is not a man he's not known for keeping quiet about things. He hardly talked about that airline. So something must have gone wrong. Well, because he could not compete. The company failed. And we know Trump to be an intelligent businessman, but this time it didn't work. Because the airline industry is not one hugely profitable industry. To profit from it, like Southwest Airlines does, requires some really business ingenuity. That's why Branson said that, because for example, the suppliers have lots of bargaining power. The buyers too. I mean, if you're where you were before, if they were going to pay for the air flight, you may not mind. But when you have to pay for yourself, isn't that true? You want the least. Everybody does that. Yeah. So the buyers and buyers are very price sensitive. So that means they can also they're ready to. Safety is important, but who is really attached to one particular airline just for the sake of being attached? So it must be BA. No. If the price goes too high, you might want to consider another one. Okay. So the implication is that there are forces, and some of those forces, their strengths are not equal. In the apparel industry, you have a concentration in supply chain. So what Lee and Fung decided to do was to manage supply chain instead. So they have this special ability to manage the supply chain so efficiently that enable them control the market in a significant way. They've been here for around 15 years. And their focus, as far as they are concerned, they are more of a supply chain management company than apparel. But they make apparels. They have their label on it. But where they focus is in the most significant force in that industry. You see that? Okay. So you see how to think about business. It's not just I have the money, let's go. Oh, I love that industry, so I'm so passionate about it. No, it's more than that. It's actually about thinking deeply, strategically, about what you really want to get into, and taking the course that is most that's going to be most efficient for you. You understand that? Okay. So now I wanted to share this philosophy, and I have done that. And now I expect that you can ask some questions if you have any, right? And then we can deal with other things.
You can go ahead.
Yeah.
You have a question.
You understood everything I said? Well, that's incredible. You have a medical brain, Mr. Joe. You almost said something. Because your questions actually shows me I expected to have been asked questions because you have a question.
I don't have.
Oh.
You have not completed what you started in respect of these two brothers. You said they manage supply aspect of this.
Supply chain. Because they found out that's where you have most of the force concentrated. All right. So what they did was to develop a system that enables them to manage. Because you see, most apparels companies that you hear of could have the button of a cloth made in Germany. You understand that? And the sewing in Italy. That's what actually happens if you run the research, you'll find out. Yeah. So they have to coordinate between different places, and then the supply now comes in from China. You understand that?
Yes.
What's the name of this company that say just do it? What's their name? They sell shoes. Just do it. It's not Reebok. Nike, right? Nike doesn't make shoes. You know that? Do you know that Nike doesn't make shoes? Nike designs shoes. That's what they do. Other companies make their designs and it's sold in their name. So the key thing Nike has is relationships. You get the point? People buy because it has a Nike name.
But they didn't make it actually.
What?
They didn't make it.
They don't make shoes. You understand that? So they develop a design and people actually pay to make those designs. That is the reputation, that is the assets they have invested so strongly in. And you see, at a time when Nike couldn't have their shoes sell online for a long time, you know why? Very simple. It was because it was difficult for them. Because they make designs and retailers buy these shoes from them and sell. Now, because of it, the agreement and the terms are drafted in a way that Nike doesn't sell their shoes directly. You understand? They don't sell directly to buyers. All right? Now, the question became, competitors are going online. How do we open our own online store and undermine the relationships we have? Or do we give them the chance to also sell our product online? It was a struggle. Because see, when you invest in certain assets, they limit what is possible for you. I told you about over-investing and under-investing. You see, assets can pose a limitation. For example, as you see in the next presentation I want us to do before we start actually dealing with something more specific to your business, you realize that when you invest in certain assets, in certain industries, it could make it difficult for you to exit that industry, even if it goes by, because you've bought lots of machines and you can't use them for something else. So that could become a discouraging factor to get into an industry. All right? It's called switching costs. And these are important questions you ask yourself. Say, this industry I want to go in right now. If for some reasons, the industry becomes lousy, can I use these assets to do something else? If the questions are no, that can raise red flags. You understand that? Can raise red flags. But not when they ask those questions. It's booming. Have you thought about the possibility of a disruption by some crazy guy? That's what happened to Kodak. Remember Kodak?
Yes.
Kodak was controlling 60% of the industry. 60% of the human chemical industry worldwide. Huge. They had hundreds of thousands of employees. And then a gentleman called Steve Stevenson, their own engineer, came and told them that he's discovered another way of taking pictures, digital camera. All right? And did a demonstration. They said, Steven, this is wonderful, but make sure you tell nobody about it. Why? Because their existing asset that thing was going to be a threat to it. They majored on fumes and chemicals. Digital photography is a very different animal that was going to make this obsolete. And they can't allow it. So they say keep it under the radar. In fact, they gave him money to support the research. But you must tell no one. Well, it wasn't kept under the radar. Digital camera eventually showed up. Kodak signed for bankruptcy. They reorganized their company for a number of times. I think up to, is it 8 different times in 2 years? Because you see, as you find out probably in the presentation, you find out that a reorganization in the face of an environment that has changed will just speed up your failure. All right? Because reorganization means that you're trying to become more effective at doing the wrong thing. So you fail even faster.
There could be a problem in respect of adaptability of existing assets.
That's that's where we're coming from, and that's what assets can cause. You are now trapped in these assets that you find it difficult to free yourself. You see, and I don't know how many people who actually sit down to do those kind of analysis before they start. What they do is cost benefit analysis. They say, well, these are the benefits, so we can go. That's not how to approach business. Any questions so far? You can also say something to suggest that you have understood what we discussed. In fact, since you don't have a question, so I expect your input that suggests that you have understood what we said so far.